The misrouted call. The Linerans were not born for conflict. Their homeworld, Linera Prime, orbited a gentle star in the peaceful spiral arm of the Galactic Council's territory. The planet knew no harsh seasons, no devastating natural disasters, and no extreme temperature variations. Even its occasional storms brought only gentle rain that nourished rather than destroyed. In this paradise, the Linerans had evolved into slender, six-limbed beings with opalescent skin that reflected their environment's colors and large, luminous eyes adapted for their world's perpetual twilight. They had never known true hunger or danger. Their society had developed without the concept of warfare, armies, or weapons more dangerous than those needed for scientific exploration. When they reached for the stars, they did so with curiosity and wonder, not conquest or fear. Captain Ilara stood on the bridge of the Lineran exploration vessel Dawnsong, her skin shifting to a calm blue that reflected her serene mood. The ship was a testament to Lineran engineering, all flowing curves, crystalline viewports, and biologically integrated systems. Like all vessels in the Galactic Council's fleet, it carried no weapons. The concept would have seemed absurd to the ship's designers. Status report, Ilara said, her melodic voice carrying across the bridge. Vorin, the communications officer, looked up from his station, his skin pulsing a contented green. All systems functioning optimally, Captain. The colony teams report successful establishment of the research outpost on Nexus IV. The biodomes are operational, and the first cultivation experiments have begun. Ilara nodded in satisfaction. This mission was proceeding perfectly. Nexus IV was the 12th world colonized by the Linerans in their 5 centuries of space travel. Like all their outposts, it would focus on botanical research and cultural exchange with other peaceful species of the Galactic Council. The Council, a harmonious alliance of 33 spacefaring species, shared the Linerans' peaceful nature. All had evolved on worlds without extreme dangers or resource scarcity. All had developed technology without developing weapons of mass destruction. All believed that true intelligence and violence were fundamentally incompatible forces. Captain, called Malus, the sensor officer, her skin suddenly fading to a concerned yellow. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures at the edge of the system. Ilara moved to Melis's station, her 4 secondary arms clasping behind her back in the Lineran gesture of focused attention. Source: unknown. The pattern doesn't match any council registry. Open a channel, Ilara ordered. Standard council greeting protocols. Vorin worked his console with practiced efficiency. Channel open. Broadcasting welcome message. The bridge crew waited. In 5 centuries of space exploration, first contact always followed the same pattern. Greetings, exchange of mathematical principles to establish common ground, then language sharing. The Council had never encountered a species that didn't respond positively to peaceful overtures. No response, Captain, Vorin reported after several minutes. Continue broadcasting, Ilara said. Perhaps their communication systems are different from. The Dawnsong suddenly trembled. Not violently, but enough to cause the crew to grasp their stations for support. An alien sensation on a Lineran vessel. What was that? Ilara asked, her voice steady despite her rising concern. Melis's hands moved frantically over her sensor panel. Some kind of energy pulse passed through our hull. Her skin was now pale gray. The Lineran equivalent of fear. Captain, I'm detecting multiple objects. Large vessels approaching rapidly. They're launching smaller craft toward our outpost ships. The main view screen showed the approaching vessels. Unlike the organic, flowing ships of the Council, these were angular, asymmetrical, and bristling with protruding structures. They reminded Ilara of the extinct predator plants in the Council's Museum of Natural History, all sharp edges and dangerous points. The outpost is reporting, Captain. Vorin's voice cracked with disbelief. The unknown vessels are forcing entry into our habitat domes. There are reports of researchers being taken. Ilara felt a sensation she had never experienced before, a cold tightness in her chest, and a racing of her hearts. Her people had no word for it, but other species might have called it terror. "This must be a misunderstanding," she said, though her tone lacked conviction. "Keep broadcasting our peaceful intentions. Tell the outpost to offer no resistance." "They're not responding to any communication," Captain Vorin said. "And now they're changing course. 3 of the large vessels are heading directly toward us." Ilara made a decision. "Send the emergency distress signal to Council Central. Include all sensor data on the intruders." Vorin worked frantically at his console. "Signal prepared according to Council emergency protocols, Captain." On the view screen, the angular ships grew larger. The Dawnsong had no weapons, no meaningful shields beyond radiation protection, and no way to defend itself. The ship's fastest speed would not outrun the approaching vessels. Their only hope was that Council peacekeepers would arrive quickly. "Send it now," Ilara commanded, watching as the first of the unknown vessels began to launch smaller craft toward them. "Signal sent," Vorin confirmed. He frowned at his display. "Captain, there's something wrong with the transmission." The acknowledgement came back on a frequency I've never seen. "And the response code. What does it mean?" Ilara asked, the cold feeling in her chest intensifying. "I think," Vorin hesitated, "I think our signal was misrouted. These coordinates in the response. They're from uncharted space, from the direction of the Forbidden Zone." The Forbidden Zone. Every Lineran child knew about it. The region of space containing the notorious Deathworlds, planets so harsh and unforgiving that they spawned aggressive, predatory species. The Council had cordoned off the entire sector millennia ago, deeming any intelligence arising there too dangerous to contact. The most terrifying stories told to young Linerans were of the theoretical Deathworlders, beings evolved under constant threat, with bodies built for violence and minds shaped by endless struggle. The Council's greatest fear was that such beings might one day develop spaceflight and bring their violent ways to the peaceful stars. "Recall the signal," Ilara ordered quickly. "Redirect it to Council Central." "I can't," Vorin whispered. "It's already been received by someone, or something, in the Forbidden Zone." A new message appeared on Vorin's console, simple, direct, and in mathematical code that translated across language barriers. "Distress signal received. Coordinates confirmed. Hold position. Response inbound." "Who would respond from the Forbidden Zone?" Melis asked, her voice barely audible. Ilara had no answer. She watched the approaching ships, now close enough to see the scorch marks on their hulls and the strange symbols painted on their sides. The Linerans had no concept of pirates, but that's what they were facing. The Krell, scavengers of the outer systems who preyed on isolated colonies and ships. "Captain," Vorin said, "the outpost reports borders. They're taking our people." Ilara closed her eyes briefly. The Council would send ships eventually, but they would arrive too late for the researchers. And now, because of a misrouted distress call, they might have accidentally alerted something even worse than these attackers. Something from the Forbidden Zone was coming, and the Linerans could only wait, caught between two unknowns, both potentially deadly to a species that had never learned to fight. Admiral Helena Chen was having a routine day aboard the UES Indomitable, flagship of the United Earth Space Fleet. At 48 years old, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen both Earth's wars and its hard-won peace, she had experienced most of what space had to offer in her 25-year career. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Commander Kamal from the communications station, "we've intercepted an unusual transmission. It appears to be a distress call." Chen looked up from the deployment schedules she had been reviewing. "Origin: approximately 37 light-years rimward of the Procyon line, ma'am. Near the boundary of what we call the Silent Zone." The Silent Zone. Every cadet at the Space Fleet Academy knew about it. A vast region of space from which no signals ever came, despite clear evidence of activity. Long-range scanners had detected ship movements and energy signatures for decades, but never any communication directed toward human space. Humanity had sent hundreds of greeting messages toward the Silent Zone without response, eventually establishing the Procyon line as a boundary they would not cross without invitation. "Show me," Chen ordered. The main screen lit up with data streaming across it. The message used an encoding system Chen had never seen before, but the mathematics of distress were clear. The signal included sensor readings and visual data showing sleek, organic-looking ships being attacked by angular predatory vessels. "Translation?" Chen asked. Lieutenant Commander Kamal shook his head. "Our computers are working on it, Admiral. The language is unknown, but the mathematical pattern indicating distress is universal." He paused. "What's strange is that this signal wasn't directed at us. It appears to have been misrouted through a subspace channel intersection. It was meant for someone else." Chen stood and moved closer to the screen, studying the visual data. The organic ships were clearly civilian in design. No visible weapons, minimal shielding. The attacking vessels were another matter. Their design suggested a purpose built around aggression. "The visuals show civilians under attack," Chen said quietly. "How long would it take us to reach these coordinates?" The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood the implication of the question. These coordinates were beyond the Procyon line, in the Silent Zone they had pledged not to enter. Captain Alvarez, her executive officer, cleared his throat. "At maximum FTL, just under 14 hours, Admiral." Chen's eyes never left the screen, where the image showed smaller craft leaving the attacking vessels and forcing their way into the organic ships. "Admiral," Kamal said hesitantly, "protocol dictates that we report this to Fleet Command for evaluation. Crossing the Procyon line would require authorization from the Security Council." Chen turned to face her bridge crew. They were all watching her, waiting for her decision. Humanity had evolved on Earth, a world of predators, natural disasters, and harsh climates. They had survived by developing two critical traits: the ability to fight when necessary and the drive to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Lieutenant Commander Kamal, send our acknowledgement to the distress call. Let them know help is coming." "Yes, Admiral," Kamal said, fingers moving over his console. "Captain Alvarez, plot a course to these coordinates, maximum FTL." Chen's voice was calm but firm. "And contact all combat-ready vessels within 3 light years. I want them converging on these coordinates immediately." Alvarez nodded, but hesitation showed on his face. "Admiral, the Procyon line. These people need help," Chen said simply. "They've asked for it, even if by accident. That's all the invitation we need." She turned to her communications officer. "Lieutenant Commander Kamal, contact Fleet Command. Inform them that we've received a distress call from beyond the Procyon line and are responding according to Maritime Rescue Protocol. Tell them I take full responsibility." Maritime Rescue Protocol was as old as seafaring itself, the obligation to respond to a distress call, regardless of nationality or standing. When humanity reached space, they had carried this principle with them. To ignore a call for help was unthinkable. "Admiral," Kamal called out, "I've analyzed the sensor data attached to the distress call. The attacking vessels match no known configuration, but their behavior shows a clear pattern of boarding and capture, not destruction. They appear to be taking captives." Chen's expression darkened. Humanity's history included the dark chapter of slavery. The thought of any species being captured and enslaved stirred something primal in the human psyche. "All the more reason to hurry," she said. "How many ships can we get there within 24 hours? Alvarez consulted his tactical display. "The Shenzhen and Nairobi can rendezvous with us in 3 hours. The Santiago, Jakarta, and Kiev can meet us at the target coordinates. That gives us 6 heavy cruisers, including the Indomitable." "Good. That should be enough to handle those raiders." Chen returned to her command chair. "All hands to battle stations. Prepare for maximum FTL." The bridge erupted into activity as the crew prepared the ship for rapid acceleration. Chen kept her eyes on the main screen, which still showed the final frame of the distress call, an organic ship surrounded by the angular predatory vessels. Humanity had spent centuries wondering about the Silent Zone and why its inhabitants never responded to Earth's greetings. Perhaps they had been monitoring human broadcasts, learning about Earth's violent history, and decided that humans were too dangerous to contact. Many species might look at Earth's past and see only the warfare, the conquest, the bloodshed. What they missed, Chen thought, was the other side of human nature. The drive to protect, to help, to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. "FTL drive ready, Admiral," reported the helmsman. "Execute," Chen ordered. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the Indomitable accelerated to faster-than-light speed, heading toward the Silent Zone. 14 hours. That's how long the people who sent the distress call would have to hold out. Chen hoped it would be enough. "Lieutenant Commander Kamal," she said, "prepare a first contact package. Standard greetings in all Earth languages, mathematical principles, basic scientific data. If we're finally meeting our neighbors, let's put our best foot forward." "Yes, Admiral," Kamal replied. "And Kamal," Chen added, "include the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Let's make sure they understand exactly what we stand for." As the ship hurtled through space, Chen thought about those organic ships and the people inside them. They had never met humans before. They probably knew nothing about Earth or its people. Their first impression of humanity would be formed by what happened next. Chen intended to make it a good one. "Captain Alvarez," she said, "have the fleet prepare boarding teams. Full tactical gear, but I want strict fire discipline. We're there to rescue hostages, not start a war." Alvarez nodded. "Rules of engagement, Admiral. Defensive fire only until all civilians are secure," Chen said firmly. "Then we give the raiders one chance to surrender. And if they refuse?" Chen's expression was grim but determined. "Then we show them exactly why Earth is called a death world." Humanity's response. The Krell pirate chief Verox stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Bloodrender. His scaled skin gleamed under the red lights of the bridge. Sharp, yellow teeth showed when he smiled, watching the Linaran researchers being herded into holding cells on his view screen. The Krell had discovered the Linaran outpost 3 days ago. It was perfect prey, wealthy, advanced, and completely defenseless. The raid was going better than expected. No weapons, no resistance, just pure profit. Linarans brought excellent prices in the Outer Rim slave markets. Their 6 limbs made them excellent workers, and their gentle nature made them easy to control. "Chief," called his sensor officer, "I'm detecting gravitational disturbances at the edge of the system." Verox's smile widened. More council ships coming to help their friends. Good. More prizes. The Galactic Council was known throughout the unregulated sectors as easy targets. Their ships carried valuable technology, but no weapons. In 15 years of raiding, Verox had never faced armed resistance from them. His smile faded as the sensor officer spoke again. "These are not council signatures, Chief. The distortion pattern is unknown." Verox moved to the sensor station, pushing the officer aside to see for himself. The readings made no sense. The energy output was massive, far beyond anything the council used. "How many vessels?" he demanded. 6 detected so far. Large ships, Chief." Before Verox could respond, space seemed to tear open at the system's edge. 6 vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, unlike any ships Verox had seen in his long career as a pirate. They were dark gray, almost black, with angular designs that somehow reminded Verox of the Bloodrender itself, built for function rather than beauty. But unlike his ship, these vessels were enormous, almost twice the size of his largest cruiser. Most concerning were the obvious weapon ports along their hulls, dozens of them, far more than Verox's entire fleet carried. Unknown vessels, came a transmission in perfect galactic standard. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You are engaged in hostile actions against civilians. Stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire. Earth? Varrox had never heard of such a place or people. He turned to his communications officer. Where did they come from? How do they know our language? The officer was frantically checking his equipment. They're broadcasting in over 70 different languages simultaneously. Galactic Standard is just one of them. Varrox studied the ships on his screen. Their design spoke of a culture familiar with warfare, but their message suggested something else. They had come in response to the distress call, not to raid. Defenders, not predators like the Krell. It didn't matter. No one challenged the Krell pirates and lived. Target their flagship, Varrox ordered. Full-power disruptor cannons. Show them what happens to those who interfere with the Krell. His weapons officer hesitated. Chief, their ships are heavily armed. Perhaps we should. Fire. Varrox snarled, showing all of his sharp teeth. The Bloodrender's main cannons fired, sending brilliant red energy beams toward the largest of the unknown vessels. These weapons had sliced through council ships like paper in past raids. The beam struck the human flagship and dissipated across a blue energy field that flickered but held firm. Shields. Real energy shields, not the weak radiation barriers the council used. That was your warning, came the human's voice again, calm and emotionless. This is our response. What followed was not warfare as the Krell understood it. The 6 human ships moved with a precision that suggested extensive combat experience. Their weapons were nothing like the Krell's energy cannons. Instead, they fired physical projectiles at incredible speeds, targeting engines and weapon emplacements with surgical accuracy. On the Bloodrender's bridge, alarms sounded as systems began to fail. Engines hit, shouted the engineering officer. Weapon systems down. Varrox watched in disbelief as 2 of his support ships exploded, broken apart by the human weapons. 3 more were drifting, clearly disabled. Retreat, Varrox ordered. All ships, emergency jump to light speed. His navigation officer looked up with fear in his yellow eyes. We can't, Chief. Our hyperspace drive is being jammed somehow. For the first time in his long career of piracy, Varrox felt fear crawl up his spine. These strangers fought with a cold efficiency he had never witnessed. No wasted energy, no dramatic maneuvers or battle cries. Just methodical, precise destruction. Chief, his communications officer said, they're hailing us again. The human admiral's face appeared on the screen. Varrox studied the alien carefully. The being had no scales, just bare skin except for patches of hair. Its eyes were forward-facing like a predator's but showed no excitement or bloodlust, just calm determination. Krell vessels, the human said. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. Surrender and release your prisoners, or we will have no choice but to destroy you. Varrox hissed. Who are you to make demands? What is this, Earth? Why do you interfere in matters that don't concern you? The human's expression didn't change. We received a distress call from the beings you are attacking. On Earth, we have a strict code. When someone asks for help, we provide it. You are holding innocent civilians against their will. Release them, and you may keep your lives. And if I refuse? Varrox challenged. The human's expression hardened slightly. Then you will see why the universe has kept our world separate until now. Meanwhile, on the Lineran ship Dawnsong, Captain Ilara and her crew watched the battle with a mixture of horror and wonder. I've never seen such violence, whispered Vorin, the communications officer. His blue skin had turned nearly white with shock. Ilara couldn't disagree. The Linerans had no concept for the precise destruction they were witnessing. These newcomers, these humans, fought with terrible efficiency, yet they had come to help, not to conquer. Captain, Vorin said suddenly, we're being hailed by the human flagship. Ilara straightened her posture. On screen, the face that appeared was the same one that had spoken to the Krell pirate. Up close, Ilara could see more details, skin that showed signs of age, eyes with small wrinkles around them, short gray and black hair. "Captain of the organic vessel," the human said. "I am Admiral Chen of Earth. Are you and your people unharmed?" Ilara found her voice. "I am Captain Ilara of the Linaran exploration ship Dawnsong. We are mostly unharmed, though the outpost reports many taken by the raiders." The human nodded. "We are securing the raider vessels now and will rescue all captives. Do you require medical assistance? We have doctors prepared to treat injured." "You responded to our distress call?" Ilara asked, still struggling to understand. "Yes. It appears your signal was routed into our space by accident." The human's expression softened slightly. "We came as quickly as we could." "But you crossed the forbidden zone to help us," Ilara said, unable to hide her confusion. "Your weapons, your ships. You're from a death world, aren't you?" The human's eyebrows rose slightly. "Is that what you call them?" "Yes, Earth would qualify as what you term a death world. But we don't consider ourselves dead. Quite the opposite. We are very much alive, Captain Ilara. And we believe all life deserves protection." As Ilara processed this unexpected statement, she realized that everything the Council thought it knew about Deathworlders might be wrong. These humans had not brought violence to the stars. They had brought justice. 3 days after the battle, Captain Ilara stood in the observation lounge of the human flagship, the UES Indomitable. Through the large window, she could see her own ship, the Dawnsong, looking small and delicate next to the massive human vessel. "Your ship is beautiful," said Admiral Chen, who stood beside her. "The design is elegant." Ilara turned to look at the human. In the past 3 days, she had learned to read their expressions a little better. This one seemed genuine. Appreciation, not mockery. "Thank you," she said. "Though after seeing what happened to the Krull ships, I now understand why you build your vessels differently." Chen smiled slightly. "Form follows function, Captain. Our ships are built to survive. Yours are built for a universe where survival isn't constantly threatened." That was the heart of it, Ilara realized. Everything about humans, from their ships to their bodies, was designed for survival in harsh conditions. The Linarans had evolved in paradise, and it showed in everything they created. A human crew member entered the lounge and approached Chen, handing her a datapad. "The final report, Admiral," she said. Chen nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant." She turned to Ilara. "Good news, Captain. All of your people have been rescued from the Krull ships. Medical teams report only minor injuries. They'll be transferred back to your outpost vessels within the hour." Ilara felt a wave of relief wash over her. All 6 of her arms clasped together in the Linaran gesture of gratitude. "Thank you, Admiral. The Linarans owe you a debt we can never repay." "There is no debt," Chen said simply. "We would have done the same for anyone." Ilara found this hard to believe. "You crossed a boundary your people have respected for decades, risked your ships and crews, and fought a battle against a species you'd never encountered before, all for strangers." Chen seemed to consider this. "May I show you something, Captain?" She led Ilara to another part of the ship, a large room filled with humans in various outfits. Some wore the dark uniforms of the ship's crew, while others were dressed in what Ilara now knew were civilian clothes. They were gathered around tables, talking with several of the rescued Linaran researchers. "What is this?" Ilara asked. "Cultural exchange," Chen explained. "My crew is off duty, meeting your people, learning about each other. It was entirely their idea." Ilara watched as humans and Linarans, awkwardly but enthusiastically, tried to communicate. The humans seemed fascinated by the Linarans' 6 limbs, while the Linarans were equally interested in the human's hair, something no council species possessed. "They're not afraid of us," Ilara observed, "even after seeing what your weapons can do." "Should they be?" Chen asked. "The council has always taught that Deathworlders would be inherently aggressive," Ilara admitted. "That's why we established the Forbidden Zone, to keep species like yours separate from the galactic community." Chen's expression showed surprise. You created that boundary. We always thought whoever lived on the other side wanted nothing to do with us. Ilara felt shame creep into her hearts. For millennia, the Council had cordoned off entire regions of space out of fear, never once attempting contact with the species they assumed would be too dangerous. We were wrong, she said simply. Perhaps, Chen suggested, this is an opportunity for both our peoples to learn. They continued watching the cultural exchange taking place. A young Linaran was showing a group of humans how to write their name in Linaran script using all 6 hands simultaneously. Nearby, a human was demonstrating how to tie different knots with rope, something the 6-armed Linarans picked up with remarkable speed. Admiral, Ilara said after a while, what will happen to the Krull pirates? Chen's face hardened slightly. They've been contained. Once we return to Earth space, they'll face trial for their crimes. We have strict laws against slavery and piracy. Not execution. Ilara was surprised. No, we stopped executing prisoners centuries ago. Chen looked thoughtful. Our history is not peaceful, Captain. Humans fought each other for thousands of years before we reached the stars. We've made terrible mistakes, but we've learned from them. This was not what Ilara expected from a Deathworld species. You're very complex, she said. Chen laughed. Yes, I suppose we are. A human officer approached them. Admiral, the Council vessels have been detected entering the system. They're requesting communication. Chen nodded. Put them through to the main screen in the command center. She turned to Ilara. It seems your people have finally arrived. In the command center, a large screen showed the face of the Linaran much older than Ilara. He wore the ornate garments of a High Counselor. This is High Counselor Viridian of the Galactic Council, he said, his skin cycling through patterns of confusion and concern. I am speaking to the unknown vessels that have entered Council space. Identify yourselves. Chen stepped forward. I am Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Space Fleet. We responded to a distress call from Captain Ilara of the Linaran vessel Dansong. We have secured the area and rescued all captives taken by the Krull pirates. The High Counselor's skin flashed patterns of surprise. Earth. You are from the Forbidden Zone. We prefer to call it Earth space, Chen said with a slight smile. And yes, we received Captain Ilara's distress call when it was accidentally routed to our communication network. You helped them. The counselor's confusion was evident in both his voice and the rapid color changes of his skin. Of course, Chen replied. That's what we do. Ilara stepped forward. High Counselor, I believe we have been mistaken about the nature of species from what we call Deathworlds. The humans came to our aid without hesitation. They fought to protect us, not to harm us. The High Counselor was silent for a long moment. This is unprecedented. We will need to convene the full council to discuss this development. We would welcome the opportunity for formal diplomatic relations, Chen said. In the meantime, we are preparing to transfer all rescued Linarans back to your vessels. After the communication ended, Chen turned to Ilara. That went better than I expected. The council will need time to adjust their thinking, Ilara said. For millennia, we have believed that any species evolving in harsh conditions would be inherently violent and dangerous. That belief is the foundation of our policy regarding the Forbidden Zone. And now? Chen asked. Now we must reconsider. Ilara's skin rippled with patterns of thoughtfulness. Perhaps the universe is more complex than we believed. Perhaps survival in harsh conditions creates not just the capacity for violence, but also the drive to protect others from it. Chen smiled. Humans have a saying. The true measure of a civilization is how it treats its most vulnerable members. Ilara nodded. A wise saying. The Linarans have another. All life sings in the same cosmic harmony. I like that, Chen said. Perhaps our two species will create new music together. As the Linaran and human ships prepared to go their separate ways, a new chapter in galactic history was beginning. The boundary between the peaceful council space and the mysterious Deathworlds was dissolving, not in fire and conquest, as the council had feared, but in understanding and mutual respect. The Linerans would need to rethink their assumptions about the universe and their place in it. And the humans, they had finally found their place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors. When the emergency call had been misrouted, it had reached exactly the right planet after all.